Greetings, everybody. Concept 1 of the Emancipation Proclamation. Concept 1 is discuss Lincoln's motives for fighting the Civil War and his plan for emancipation. So Jefferson Davis was right. The major objective of the war for President Lincoln and the North was to bring the South back into the Union. In an open letter to Horace Greeley in a New York newspaper, Lincoln made the following statement: "My paramount object in this struggle is to save the Union, and it is not either to save or destroy slavery. If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would do that. What I do about slavery and the colored race, I do because I believe it helps to save the Union. And what I forbear because I do not believe it would help to save the Union. I shall do no less whenever I shall believe what I am doing hurts the cause. And I shall do more whenever I shall believe doing more will help the cause. I shall try to correct errors when shown to be errors, and I shall adopt new views so fast as they shall appear to be true views." So Lincoln explains his rationale for taking the country to war to bring the South back into the Union. From Lincoln's perspective, the South had no legal right to do what they did, even though he believed that people did back in 1848. By 1860, he doesn't believe they even have the right to do this. So, in reality, they've never even left the Union, according to Lincoln. Right? Other people understand that they have, but Lincoln is going to politically and legally couch the South's decision to secede as an illegal act. Therefore, it couldn't have even happened in the first place. So, we're just going to make sure that their right or their idea of secession is denied, and to bring them back in. Lincoln regarded the war as a test of democracy and the legality of the Constitution. To Lincoln, any measure to preserve the Union was worth taking. Thus, he tried to make the war into an act of faith by defining the war as democracy's struggle for survival. Quote, this is from Lincoln, "It presents to the whole family of man the question whether a constitutional republic or a democracy, a government of the people, by the same people, can or cannot maintain its territorial integrity against its domestic foes. It presents the question whether discontented individuals, few in number, can arbitrarily break up their government and thus practically put an end to free government upon the face of the earth," unquote. So this is Lincoln's big question when it comes to his decision to fight to preserve the Union. So Lincoln understood the necessity of enabling his countrymen to believe that they were embarked on an ennobling crusade, and he plainly came to believe it himself. When Lincoln was defining the war as democracy's struggle for survival, other men around him wanted a different, more radical definition. For them, slavery was the issue. Lincoln knew slavery was the root of the rebellion and was personally opposed to it. In fact, Lincoln also tried to take the slavery question out of the realm of moral and legal dispute by dramatizing it in terms of free labor's self-interest at the national level. He thus gave it a universal appeal. This was done by stating that he opposed slavery's further extension because it was for the benefit of all northern white men. Lincoln claimed slavery might become national if allowed to expand, and thus created a national challenge to economic freedom of the common white man. This concept is reflected in the following quote: "The whole nation is interested that the best use shall be made of these territories. We want them for homes of free white people. This they cannot be to any considerable extent if slavery shall be planted within them. Slave states are places for poor Slave states are places for poor white people to remove from, not to remove to. New free states are the places for poor people to go to and better their condition. For this use, the nation needs these territories, unquote. Most historians are in general agreement that even if slavery would have spread into new territories, it would not have spread into the free states of the North. At the same time, he shared the view of most northern white voters that black people were racially inferior to whites. Even if he considered fighting the war against slavery, he could not conceive of it being a war for black equality. He was deeply convinced that the Constitution did not give him the power to interfere with slavery within the states prior to the war, and even as the war began. As the war progressed, Lincoln pondered the slavery question and its legal and ethical implications. And out of this pondering, he developed what would have been a permanent solution to the problem of slavery. Lincoln's plan for compensated emancipation and can be summarized as the following. 1. The states themselves must emancipate the slaves. For, in his opinion, slavery was a domestic institution, state institution. Slave owners must be paid for the chattels of which they were being deprived. 3. The federal government must share the financial burden by providing federal bonds as grants and aid to the states. 4. The actual freeing of the slaves must not be hurried. The states must be given plenty of time, delaying final freedom as late as 1900 if they wished. And 5, the freed blacks must be shipped out of the country and colonized abroad, but they must be persuaded to go willingly. Thus, federal aid, gradual emancipation, and voluntary colonization were the indispensable features of Lincoln's personal plan. However, Congress and the political events would not allow this to materialize. So that was his initial plan before and as the war is commencing. I'll talk to you guys later in Concept 2.